Hey everyone, so today I wanted to go over with you really quickly different toothbrushes, different toothpaste, and different tactics to work with your baby or toddler about how to brush their teeth because sometimes it can be difficult. So basically I'm just going to start first of all with the two toothpaste that I like the most. My kids right now are using the Hello toothpaste. It's a fluoride free. It is a watermelon flavor. They seem to like it. So that's a really good one. And then another one that's really super popular is this Tom's Children's. They make it in both fluoride and fluoride free so that you can kind of start them on this and then kind of gradually go up. But both of them have really good ingredients. I'm sure there's others that are great too. It's just that these are probably the two I would recommend. Next. When your baby's very little and they're starting to get their teeth in, I would recommend a toothbrush like this that's very, very soft. It's a banana. You can get it at Bye Bye Baby or anything like that. It's just called the banana toothbrush. It has like little silicone bristles and it's just really easy for them to kind of chew on it and just kind of get used to having something in their mouth. You don't have to use toothpaste with it, but I do kind of recommend at least a fluoride-free toothpaste to kind of get them started just so that they get used to the taste. And sometimes once they get used to the taste, then it's really easy from there. My daughters love this from the beginning. Clegg hated it. So we'll go over behavioral management in the future, but this is probably the best starter. Next, I would say most kids are going to want to move to a regular kind of like soft bristle toothbrush before they try anything electric. So they're made for different age groups and you can get them over the counter, Target, anywhere like that, just a really soft bristle. And then the age group should be on the toothbrush itself. So this would kind of be the next step. After that, you're going to want to move to a spin brush. This is a inexpensive Oral-B kind of bronze spin brush. I think it was probably about $10. I got it at Target. This would kind of be the next step. The idea of using something like this is to get your child used to the vibrations. So not only will it do a better job in the mouth cleaning their teeth, but also it will get them used to going to a dental office to get their teeth checked, because right around 2, when you're probably going to want to start introducing this, is kind of about when you want to start thinking about your first dental appointment with your child. And so if you can get them kind of desensitized, then that might go a little bit easier for you when you're ready to go. Okay, now we're on to kind of the toughest part. So that is the behavioral management aspect of it. So some kids don't have any problems with it. Some kids love to brush their teeth and it's just kind of part of the routine. I would say the earlier they start, then the better. The more strong-willed kids, like my son, tend to have a little bit more of an opinion. So with my son, before he was able to comprehend, sometimes honestly we just kind of had to like stick this in there and hope for the best because he didn't really have the comprehension of a timeout or anything like that. So I would start with the distraction tactic, which is like the next kind of step, where basically I would put on a video, a YouTube video, something he liked, a TV show that he would like, and I would try to do it while he was watching it, and most of the time he would tolerate it. So that's a really good kind of first initial kind of step, would be to sit them on the couch, have them playing something they like, or laying down on the changing pad and have them looking at an iPad or something like that, and then just kind of try to sneak it. As time went on, though, my son got more and more combative when it would come to brushing the teeth. So then the next step, some kids like to brush the teeth of their stuffed animals and kind of reenact it. So that's kind of like, okay, this distractive tactic isn't working. I'm not ready to give my child a timeout yet. So let's try to practice. So we'll get like a stuffed animal and we'll put maybe even toothpaste on it, maybe not, and just have them kind of brush the little teeth on the stuffed animal. Sometimes that will get a kid excited about brushing their own teeth. So that's something that you can try and kind of hope. Now, if your child is like my child, that will work maybe once out of a few times or whatever. They'll get excited about it for a short period of time, but then it's time to brush their teeth the next time, and we're screaming and fighting and all of these things. So that's when kind of like the third tactic comes in, and this is kind of like just my own personal tactic. So I'm going to share it with you guys and just kind of, obviously this is like your own discretion. You do what you think is best for your kid. But for me, it was just a struggle of, I work late sometimes. Sometimes I'm not the person that's here doing the toothbrushing. So I wanted to make sure that I had consistent results with my child. So no matter who was here, it wouldn't be the end of the world. We would have kind of a system of what we would do, and so it was very predictable, and the results were very predictable. So because my son's moods are not predictable, I wanted to kind of have something that would reinforce that for him. So I kind of came up with this initial game plan, so here it is. So I would give him his milk, change his diaper, sit him on the couch, put his show on, whatever show he wanted to put on. Then I would try to have him open, and I would try to brush his teeth. If he would allow me to do it, great, done. If he would not allow me to do it, I would say, Cleggy, if you don't cooperate, I'm going to turn your show off. So at that point in time, if he didn't cooperate, we would turn the show off, which then inevitably would bring this, oh, no, screaming and crying and whatever. So then at that point, I would give him one more chance to turn it around. I would say, hey, Clegg, if you allow me to brush your teeth during the show, then, you can continue to watch your show. So then I would turn the show back on before I tried again. So I tried a couple of times trying to brush the teeth before I put the show on, and he just didn't have the comprehension for that. So then the next step I would do is I would turn the actual show back on, and I would sit him back down next to me, and I would try to do it again. And this worked about 50% of the time. He would cooperate at that point. But then there was the nights where he just wasn't. So then at that point, if he wouldn't allow me to do it again, or he put up a fight, then I would turn off the show, and I would say, hey, Cleggy, if you don't brush your teeth again, we're going to get a timeout. Well, then inevitably he never brushed his teeth after that, so we always had to do the timeout. So I would pick him up and I'm just say, I'm very sorry, Clegg, that you don't want to brush your teeth. And I would put him in his little, timeout spot, and of course he would cry and everything like that. Honestly, I hate to say this, but sometimes we had to repeat this several times. So at the end of the timeout period, which, I think I learned on Super Nanny or something like that, for every year of age, it's a minute. So then I would be like, hey, Clegg, are you ready to brush your teeth again? And if at that point he said no, then I would say, I'm very sorry, Cleggy, but you have to go back and do a timeout. And we would just kind of continue to repeat that. And my child's very strong-willed, so I think a lot of it had less to do with brushing the teeth and just more about winning. So sometimes we'd have to do that a few times. But whenever he finally would agree to it, then I would say, okay, Cleggy, let's put on your show, and let's go ahead and brush your teeth. So, sorry. So I'd put the show back on, I'd sit him on the couch, and I'd very gently brush his teeth. But the catch is that you really have to do a good job. So my son has like a tendency to chew on the toothbrush or try to do it himself, and I honestly feel like it's a big problem with parents that a lot of times they'll allow their kids to brush their own teeth, which I don't really think that they have the capability of doing that. So part of it is, I will continue to do this timeout process until basically he'll open his mouth and allow me to brush his teeth for him. And honestly, after you do it one time, you probably won't have to do it again for like another 10 times. But then on the 10th time, they're going to give you that hard time again, just because kids, they need reinforcement. It has to be very consistent, and they'll challenge you at random times to make sure that that's still the punishment. So, he'll cooperate for 10 more times after that. So that's great, because my goal is, consistency, and my goal is no matter who's there brushing the teeth, I need to get the same result. So, so then, then time will go by and, whatever. So that's kind of where we were at with just this. This was just a regular toothbrush. So this was like all of that just to get to this point, okay? Now we had to move to the next step, which was the electric toothbrush. So once we got the consistency with the regular toothbrush, and by consistency, I mean, I would say 9 out of 10 times there's no problem. Maybe even 15 out of 16 times there's no problem. So then we kind of were ready for the next step. Well, then we had this spin brush, but as soon as I turned the spin brush on, that was really concerning to Clegg. And so he didn't like that. Well, over time, I kept going to him before I had used it in my mouth, and I kept doing it to my own teeth. And I kept smiling and telling him how fun that was and everything like that. So finally, last night, he got comfortable enough in the toothbrushing process to allow me to finally use this on him. So it was just kind of like all of those factors combined, consistency over time, and then, kind of keeping it playful. And like, if things aren't working for you, potentially it's the toothbrush, potentially it's the toothpaste. Like, try switching those out, and seeing if that would work again. Try depleting or not giving the kids the screen time during the day so that it's an extra super treat at night, things like that. Just try within your own boundaries of what your child to do. Try all of those things, because honestly, you really, really want your child to be cooperative in this activity, because this is something that is extremely important to the overall health of your child. It's extremely important to them long term. So unfortunately, it is serious, and you do really kind of need to be a little bit more dominant on that. And some kids, like some parents have told me that their kids were not very cooperative until they got an electric toothbrush. So you might even skip some of the steps and switch directly to that. Try that and see if that makes them, it more entertaining or more, whatever. Some kids I've heard like to brush their teeth in the bath. My kids just don't really love to do it, so it tends to have to be around something that's like more positive, that's what they want to do, and it's not like removing them from one environment and putting them into the other. It's kind of like more of like a wind down. Anyways, try these tactics. If you're still having trouble, reach out to me, and we'll try to come up with something. But that's pretty much what I do, and what I would recommend. So anyways, I hope y'all are having a great day, and I hope that you have success with this.